if you had a checklist of everything that you could do wrong in that position as a head coach, he did most everything wrong.
Urban Meyer is fired in Jacksonville.
Yes, he is. That is the big story coming out overnight, late night, when Herb was informed that he is no longer the head coach of the Jacksonville Jags. And I feel like the media world has rejoiced, very happy, thrilled with this news of Urban Meyer being fired.
What a glorious run it was. It's being classified as maybe one of the worst in history. I think ESPN winner Louis Riddick, I think, called it the worst leadership tenure he can recall. Is getting hit from all sides. Look, I know Dan Dockich is friends with him and loves him, but I think we're all on the same side of here. It was a disaster from the beginning. And I was among those who said I didn't think it would work when he was hired. People are making jokes too. You stepped out of the room about, think about his family. They have to spend time with him now. And how tragic that is.
Yeah. It was just a complete disaster for Urban Meyer in Jacksonville, with all the offseason storylines galore, in-season storylines. He had too big of an ego to adjust to the NFL. That's what this came down to. And for whatever reason, he was completely disconnected with everything in Jacksonville. That's the biggest difference from Urban Meyer with the Jags and Urban Meyer with Ohio State or Florida, is he had a connection and a pulse with what was going on at both of those teams and both of those programs. He had nothing working for him in Jacksonville. I mean, rookie quarterback that was getting worse, not better as the season progressed, and that's just what was going on the field. Trevor Lawrence has thrown one touchdown pass over his last 6 games. They're running a draw play on 3rd down and long in the first half against the Tennessee Titans this past week. I mean, it's just awful all the way around, even with the results on the field. Despite being a bad team, they were lifeless and leaderless in many ways, where reports are after practice yesterday, he left the facility and did not return. Mark Long from the Associated Press was reporting that Trevor Lawrence met with Shad Khan on his yacht on Tuesday. I'd love to know what that conversation was about. And good for Shad Khan, who went to his franchise quarterback and asked him what was going on. Trevor Lawrence, who is standing in front of the podium either today or yesterday, and said, look, there's a plenty of time and reason to be completely honest. I have to be careful with what I say, but the distractions off the field have to stop. And it's not coming from the players. It's coming from their head coach week after week after week.
And head coaches around the league work really hard to minimize distractions, to eliminate distractions, to make sure they don't happen. When the head coach is the distraction, that's a problem. Kevin Clark of The Ringer, friend of the show, had a piece yesterday. I wrote about what should be the last days of Urban Meyer. Retweeted it this morning, said, well, that was fast. And I thought one of the best things he had in there, and we've hit on this, but he shaped it. He said, in the piece, he said, last January, while talking about upgrading facilities, Meyer said, the Jacksonville players are going to get pushed. In return, we will give them the very best. That includes the coaching staff. Number one, the coaching staff. And in this latest story, he was berating the coaching staff about how bad his staff was. That's a huge contradiction in the span of 14 regular season weeks plus 3 preseason weeks, where he was apparently panicking over how bad they were in the preseason, which is another disconnect that he doesn't get, that it's okay to be bad in the preseason. You just need to be setting a course for some things.
Paul, your good friend, the late and great Al Davis, once said, don't adjust, dominate, when you ask for his advice. Urban Meyer came to the NFL with the mindset of, I am not adjusting. The NFL will adjust to the great Urban Meyer. And this league will have to adjust to my way and my system. And he came in with that attitude, and if it would have worked, he would have looked like the genius to end all geniuses. Instead, it backfired royally, and a guy with, not that every coach in the NFL doesn't have an ego, but this guy's ego got in his way far too often. He didn't have the humility to explain what he didn't know, to get the right people around him to instruct him in what he doesn't know about the NFL, about NFL players, about the NFL system. And instead, it came in with this hard-charging, I'm Urban Meyer. I've done it this way. I've done it my way my entire career. Everyone's going to bend to my will, and we're going to get this thing done here. And that leads to, you maybe kicking a kicker in stretch after preseason misses, field goals. And that was ultimately his demise. I'll say it again. I don't buy the full he kicked the kicker story. I think it was probably a poor attempt at humor where he was messing with him, and he didn't take it very well, and this led to some other problems. But obviously, Urban Meyer, if you had a checklist of everything that you could do wrong in that position as a head coach, he did most everything wrong. And Hutton, you hit on it to start. The devolving of Trevor Lawrence's game as the season has gone on, and the dysfunction of that offense, where I watch them, I don't even know what they're attempting to do. It looks like it's incoherent offensively. That can't continue when you've got possibly a generational type talent at quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. And ultimately, that's why Jacksonville had to make the move.
That kicker story is the final straw, true or not. And it's old. This guy just chose to come out and say it kind of in the context of all this stuff that's going on. An evergreen story, if you will. But the timing of it on top of this other stuff served to be the thing
they were headed
that
this
broke
way.
it.
Normally, it's happening right after the game, right? So you're right. All of these things mounted.
It was just whatever's next was going to do him in, and that turned out to be next.
Yeah, and there's probably something else that would come out today, tomorrow.
Yeah.
Well,
you're right.
Because it's a never-ending story here. If Shad Khan called the hire of Urban Meyer and the draft of Trevor Lawrence as a transformational moment for their franchise. And whenever he releases the statement last night, which was odd timing, like midnight.
I mean, the report came out like 1:34.
Is he here or is he in London?
He's here.
He's currently here? Okay.
Yeah. He
just
was in
had people
Nashville
on
this
his yacht.
weekend.
Well, I was trying to think about it because I'm immediately thinking, was that early in the morning? That would be like 6 a.m. in London. Was he waking up first thing there and firing him, or was this just late at night in Jacksonville?
So he said he was bitterly disappointed was the way he phrased it. And I can only imagine. I mean, after you land the coach that you've been begging to show up and coach your
Do
team
something different
with the number one overall pick, that was the highly touted number one pick compared to like Andrew Luck, where everyone knew that Andrew Luck was going to go number one to whoever held that selection. It was the Colts. We knew that whoever had the number one pick, they were going to get Trevor Lawrence 15, 17 months prior to the draft. And the Jags held that, and they also landed Urban Meyer, and then Urban came in there, and there was just a complete disconnect.